In Psalm 145, verse 15, which is the verse of Einei chol elecha yisaberu, va'ata noten lahem et achlam be'ito, David HaMelech left two extra words in the pasuk. What do I mean by that? And I've highlighted in red that the word ata, enosin, and lahem are really redundant. Because look at verse 14. We don't have the word ata before zokef. It could read, Somech Hashem l'chol hanoflim ve'ata zokef l'chol hakfufim, but David HaMelech doesn't include it there. So why does he include the word ata? And secondly, when he has the word achlam, it already has the plural suffix, and simply he could have left out the word lahem from it. And I've highlighted in blue what the pasuk could have been. Einei chol elecha yisaberu v'nosein es achlam be'ito, and it would have matched the structure of the surrounding verses. So why did King David leave it in? Now, when I was learning this pasuk, I was struck by the word achlam, that I'm going to feed them. And it occurred to me that achlam really matches achalem, which means to destroy. And how interesting that David HaMelech is taking and destroying meaning via like a consumption of destruction. And so was there something to be learned from this? So I looked in the Torah for the pasuk that I remembered. And here's what I found, and I think it's shocking. So here's the pasuk, the verse from Tehillah LaDavid, Einei chol elecha. All the eyes look towards you, God. Yisaberu. Yisaberu means like that they're looking with insistence or an anticipation, with a hand that's extended, looking for food. Vata, and you, nosein, place or give lahem to them, et achlam, their food, be'ito, in its right time. Look what David HaMelech did. The pasuk comes from Shemos, Exodus, Perek Lamed Beis, Psukim Yud through Yud Aleph, or chapter 32, 10 through 11. And this is a verse that's found by the sin of the golden calf. Moses has just come down from the mountain, and he sees, and he's told by God that the Jewish nation has sinned, and they've made themselves a golden calf. And Hashem says to Moshe, Ra'iti et Amazeh, I have seen this people. And here Moshe and David HaMelech switches it to Einei chol elecha. Everybody looks to you, God. And God says, V'hinei am kishei orefu, and they are a stubborn nation. And a stubbornness which David HaMelech switches into Yisaberu, which means to hold out your hand stubbornly. God says, and now. And David HaMelech switches the and now to a homophone, to a similar sounding word. He takes the ayin and switches it to an aleph, and it says to you. Hanichali. So Hashem says to Moshe, now leave me alone. And so David HaMelech takes the leave, hanacha means to place, and he uses the word nosein. God says, leave me alone, ve'achara api bahem, and my anger will burn in them. And David HaMelech erases the words of anger, and he just simply says lahem. So he leaves in the bahem as a placeholder for the original context of the verse. Lahem. And then we have v'achalem, and I will destroy. Look how amazing. David HaMelech takes the same exact letters and transfers it into achlam, and I'm going to feed them. Then he says be'ito, and be'ito is actually a reference to the middle of the pasuk of ata. Finally, there's a part of the David HaMelech does not include va'aseh oscha l'goy gadol, because and I will make you to a great nation, which is what Hashem says to Moshe. I'm going to start over with you, because David HaMelech is changing the pasuk from in Exodus from among the strongest verses that engages in God's anger, his midat hadin, his judgment, and David HaMelech switches it completely 180 degrees in his verse in Tehillim 145, and he makes it midat chesed, because within Tehillim 145 it's all about Teshuvah and Hashem's Yid Gimel Midos. And when you engage in teshuvah, you have an opportunity to erase God's anger and instead engage in God's chesed. So David HaMelech, though, is concerned about the concept of that God could start over with somebody else, because he knows when King Shaul, before him, had sinned with Agag, and that he had left Agag alive for a period of time and left over some of the sheep, that Shmuel told him that he's made a mistake. Shaul does not own it initially, and because of this, he loses the Malchus and is transferred over to David. Now David has done a chet, and he's struggling with what will happen as a consequence. Even though he knows his teshuvah is accepted, there's still consequences of his family's upheaval, the death of his first son with Bathsheba. And so he's concerned, potentially, God could start over the Malchus with a different family. And so he omits, isn't this fantastic? Look at David HaMelech's literary genius, that he could take a phrase from the Torah, Midas Hadin, and be nehafach it clause by clause to Midas Harachmim.